it's recycling, it's repurposing, it's decorative. It's beautiful, I think. It connects you. Skinning something and realising that we're all basically exactly the same inside. Sockets and balls and tendons, and it's really interesting to open something up like that.
Do you really link the taxidermy and upholstery in your mind, or are they kind of two quite so? Yeah.
No, I do link them because the process is very similar. You know, you take an object that's a three-dimensional object, and you peel it back to its structural frame, i.e. skeleton or the frame of a sofa. And to be honest, this is actually quite simple. It might look really frilly and intricate, but it's actually quite simple. It has traditional stuffing in it, which means that it doesn't perish. Foam-based furniture has a lifespan because it will dry up and turn powder basically. But traditional materials, as in cotton and horsehair and straw, that kind of thing, it doesn't perish. It might get dusty and you replace it, but it doesn't deteriorate in that sort of sense. I mean, if this was a museum piece, for instance, you know, we don't really deal with museum pieces, but people that do, you know, they would only use extreme traditional materials and methods in restoring things, you know, rabbit glue and, you know, only tacks, never a staple gun as far as the eye can see, those kind of things. You know, which it would be amazing to be able to get into that kind of line of conservation, which is completely different sort of way of upholstery. Something to aspire to. This is what you see in a chair. That's the last upholsterer. It was redone 1961 in a place called Skillingaryd in Sweden, which is actually the next door village to mine. So I'm going to put my signature on here as well for the next person that comes along. Yeah. We'll just add the date and the year and who did it. Great. A region called Småland, where Pippi Longstocking comes from. Full of forest and lakes, and I think my family are farmers from the dawn of time. We haven't done anything else. My gran used to paint on porcelain and paint in oil and watercolours. So even though they're like, you know, people of the earth, you know, they work on a farm all their lives and they work really hard, they still had that level of, I suppose, culture in a way, of artistic kind of feel of something. I remember being there as a kid, you know, you were out on the lawn or whatever, and you would hear your granddad play the cello wafting through from the window upstairs kind of thing. You would sit in the bedroom upstairs and you would hear it drifting across. It was just beautiful. Even though I spent all day here and I work 40 hours a week here, by the time I come home I still start something else and I still carry on doing something. You know, I sit and watch TV and I always have something crocheting in my hands. I always do something. So, you know, it's not enough having a tactile work at work. You carry it on at home. It's a good way to spend time.
And tell me why you like upholstery.
I don't know, it's just incredibly rewarding to open something up that's been really well made to start off with. You can see the skill that somebody before you has put into it. it's incredibly rewarding when, you know, the reactions you get from people when they get their favourite armchair back in a fabric that you help them choose, and it's exactly what they envisaged it to be, if not better. You know, it makes people really proud of what they have in their homes, which is great.
Do you want to tell me what you're doing now?
So at the moment I am cutting up the old fabric for a Danish mid-century sofa, because it is curved around the frame and it's sewn into 2 panels, so I need to get the shape so it sits around it again, because it's all going to be sewed into one piece, which means that I'll make a template out of the old.
Who decides what's going to go on it now?
The owner of the antique shop. I don't get to choose.
Would you love to choose?
I would love to choose. There's a definite love-hate about choosing fabrics, because what you like and what you can live with is potentially 2 very different things. So you might think you love a jungle print or a you know, geometric, colourful thing, but are you going to be able to live with it for the next 20 odd years? So we make a lot of grave furniture.
This one, this piece.
This one
Yeah.
is a custom made bench. It's a African oryx, I think it's called, antelope kind of thing, animal, that the customer brought in themselves, and she wanted a use for it, rather than to just have this random pelt rolled up in wardrobe. She wanted to make a usable object out of it, and she'd seen our benches, so we made it to order, and we kind of discussed about how long, how tall, how wide she needed to be for the space she wanted it in, what kind of parts of the body that she wanted to keep. We were toying with the idea of putting the tail back on, but no, made it look a bit funny. You never alter the shape of an upholstered piece of furniture unless the clients really specify it, but the shape is there, so you know, to put stuffing in a sofa that shouldn't be there, or too little, too much, that would ruin the shape and the comfortness of the sofa. And that's the same with taxidermy. You know, if you make the body of an animal too fat, you're not going to get the clothes back on. So it's very similar. It's about deconstructing and reconstructing and replicating a 3-dimensional shape that you had as something to work with to start with. So yeah, it's very, very similar, I think.